All right, today we are diving into one of the most controversial and, let's be honest, ruthless principles from the 48 Laws of Power. It's Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Yeah, it's a tough one, for sure. To really set the stage, let's start with this powerful image. Of all the creatures in the jungle, the vulture has it the easiest. The hard work of others becomes his work. Their failure to survive becomes his nourishment. It's a harsh metaphor, right? But it cuts right to the bone of the brutal efficiency we're going to talk about today. So to really understand what happens when you ignore this law, we don't have to look any further than one of history's most brilliant minds, Nikola Tesla. History is, well, it's the ultimate cautionary tale. You see, Tesla's whole worldview is absolutely key here. He genuinely believed that science was this pure thing, totally above the grubby, petty rivalries of business and fame. He thought his genius, his incredible innovation, would just speak for itself. As we're about to see, he couldn't have been more wrong. It's just one hit after another. In 1884, Thomas Edison promises him a fortune, $50,000, for a massive redesign project, and then just laughs in his face. A few years later, Westinghouse pressures him into selling his world-changing AC patents for pennies on the dollar. And then, the final insult, Marconi uses Tesla's own radio patent, sends a signal, and gets crowned the father of radio. It's just a devastating pattern. Let's just pause on that first betrayal for a second. $50,000. In 1884, that was an astronomical amount of money. We're talking life-changing wealth. And Tesla worked himself to the bone for a solid year based on that promise. This was a monumental effort. And what did he get for all that work? He got this incredibly dismissive, cutting remark from Edison. "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." It wasn't just a broken promise. It was a brutal lesson in the cold, hard reality of power. A lesson that Tesla just never seemed to learn. And the end of the story? It's just staggering. The man who invented the alternating current system, the system that powers our world right now, and who laid the groundwork for radio, died broke and alone. He literally became a ghost in the history of his own inventions. Okay, so we've seen the tragedy of Tesla. Now let's flip the coin and look at the master practitioner of this law. Thomas Edison's approach is basically a masterclass in how to use this law to build an empire. I mean, just look at the contrast between these two. It's night and day. You've got Tesla, the brilliant, solitary genius who died in poverty, and then you've got Edison, the savvy businessman, and frankly, the master publicist, who knew he could just hire an expert for any problem he faced. The result? Edison built a massive commercial empire. So what was his secret? Edison's method was a simple 4-step playbook. First, spot the next big thing. Second, go out and hire the absolute best people you can find to do the actual work. Third, if that doesn't work, don't be afraid to just steal from your competition. And finally, and this is the most important part, make absolutely sure your name is the one on the final product. And if you think that's just my interpretation, listen to the man himself. He said, "Everybody steals in commerce and industry. I've stolen a lot myself, but I know how to steal." He wasn't even ashamed of it. He was basically bragging about how good he was at applying this exact law. Okay, so we've seen the tragedy and the triumph. Let's pull back for a moment and really distill the core principle here. What is this law actually about? The law itself is pretty straightforward. Use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people to further your own cause. And the goal here isn't just about saving yourself time. It's about creating what the book calls a godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers are forgotten, and you are the one who is remembered as a genius. So this all boils down to two essential lessons. First, the credit for something is just as important as the thing itself. You have to protect it ruthlessly. And second, to save your own precious time and energy, you've got to learn how to spot and build on the work that other people have already started. But, it's not always about being a predator. The famous statesman Otto von Bismarck put it this way: "Fools say that they learn by experience. I prefer to profit by others' experience." And that points to a much more subtle and honestly a much more powerful way to apply this law. This brings us to one of the law's most profound applications, the idea of standing on the shoulders of giants, as Isaac Newton famously said. It's about leveraging the vast, incredible body of knowledge that history has already given us to make your own breakthroughs. And this isn't some obscure concept. It is everywhere. Isaac Newton himself admitted he was building on the work of scientists who came before him. William Shakespeare? He famously borrowed plots and characters from older writers like Plutarch. And modern politicians? Come on, they rely on teams of speechwriters to sound brilliant. They're all, in their own way, using the work of others to achieve greatness. Now, just when you think you have this law figured out, just take all the credit, right? There's a crucial twist. We need to talk about the strategic reversal, the art of sometimes sharing the glory. So let's ask the question directly. Should you always take the credit? The strategic answer, believe it or not, is no. And here's why. If your own position of power isn't totally solid yet, grabbing for all the credit can seriously backfire. It can make you look greedy, deceptive, even insecure. Sometimes the absolute smartest play is to let someone else stand in the spotlight, especially if that someone is your boss. The perfect example of this is the Kissinger playbook. President Nixon's historic visit to China was a massive deal. Behind the scenes, it was Henry Kissinger who did all the incredibly delicate diplomatic work to make it happen. But when the cameras were on, Kissinger stepped back and graciously let Nixon take almost all of the public credit. The outcome? He solidified his own power and influence without ever looking like he was trying to outshine the president. Brilliant. So this reveals the real expert-level strategy. It's a delicate dance. You take the credit from those who work for you, but you graciously give credit to those you work for. It's a sophisticated game of managing perceptions to secure your own position. The philosopher Balthasar Gracian summed it up perfectly hundreds of years ago. By the sweat of another's brow, you win the reputation of being an oracle. This just captures the almost magical power that this law promises, appearing brilliant and wise simply by leveraging the hard work of others. And that leaves us with one final provocative question for you to think about. Just look around at your own world, at your job, in politics, in history. At the end of the day, who really gets remembered? The one who does the work or the one who takes the credit?